Right now, the new memory drug your doctor wants to prescribe costs $26,500 a year. Leqembi. Approved by the FDA in July of 2023. If you're a senior living alone on a fixed income, that drug eats 14 months of your Social Security check before it does one thing for your memory. Now sit a spell, friend. There's a man named Jacob Beiler, 92 years old, Amish bishop in Bird in Hand, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, who recited Romans chapter 12 to me word for word last September on his front porch. Jacob's never taken a memory pill in his life. He eats 25 foods every week off his own farm. Total cost? About $37 a month. I drove 9 hours up to Lancaster County to copy his recipes into Granddaddy Henry's journal. Pages 187 through 202. Tonight I'm going to show you all 25, and the one specific food at minute 15:30 that Jacob says is the single most important. You won't see it on any FDA-approved label, because on November 8, 1990, the Nutrition Labeling and Education Act made it illegal to print the words "improves memory" on any food package without filing $1 million trial first. The Penn State Center for Healthy Aging documented Amish cognitive aging in 2017. Newcastle University ran the SAGE memory study in 2003. UCLA published the curcumin trial in 2018. The National Institutes of Health has the chemistry on file. They didn't ban these foods. They didn't disprove the science. They just made sure your grocery store can't tell you, your doctor isn't trained on them, and your insurance won't pay 1 cent toward what Jacob grows in his backyard for free. Whether you're 72 or 86, whether you live in Kentucky or Florida, whether you live with family or alone in a one-bedroom apartment, every single one of these 25 foods applies to you. You don't need a prescription. You don't need a pharmacist. You don't need anyone's permission. Here's the number that should make you angry. The American Alzheimer's drug market generates roughly $15 billion a year. Aricept, that's donepezil, the first one, approved November 25, 1996. Namenda, memantine, approved October 16, 2003, $300 a month at retail. Then Aduhelm, aducanumab, Biogen's drug. FDA approved it June 7, 2021, even though their own scientific advisory committee voted 10-1 against approval. Initial price tag, $56,000 a year. They cut it to $28,000. Nobody bought it. Biogen pulled the drug off the market entirely on January 31, 2024. Then Leqembi launched July of 2023, $26,500 a year. The average senior on a memory pill plus supplements plus doctor visits spends about $400 a month. Over 15 years from age 70 to 85, $72,000. To do what Jacob Beiler does for $37 a month with food he grows or trades for in Bird in Hand. And here's what's worse. The Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers of America, Pharma, spent $377 million on federal lobbying in 2022 alone. That's $1 million a day, every single day, including Sundays. Most of that money is spent making sure your doctor never says the word rosemary when they're talking about memory. Now sit close. Here's the chemistry your doctor was never taught. Memory in the human brain runs on a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. Your hippocampus, that's the seahorse-shaped structure that converts short-term memory to long-term memory, burns acetylcholine all night long while you sleep. The molecule itself is built from a nutrient called choline. Choline comes mostly from one place in the human diet, egg yolks. 2 whole eggs gives you about 300 milligrams. The National Institutes of Health recommends 550 milligrams a day for men over 50. Most American seniors get under 300. That's the first thing Aricept tries to mimic. Aricept blocks the enzyme that breaks down acetylcholine, so the little bit you have lasts longer. Eggs make more of it in the first place. Sage is the second one. Newcastle University in England ran a controlled trial on sage extract. That's Salvia lavanduleifolia, in 2003. Published in Pharmacology, Biochemistry, and Behavior, healthy adult volunteers given sage capsules showed 62% improvement in word recall tasks versus placebo. The same year, Akonzadeh published a 4-month trial in the Journal of Clinical Pharmacy and Therapeutics on Salvia officinalis, common garden sage, in Alzheimer's patients. Significant cognitive improvement. 20 years ago. Your doctor was never told about either study. Lion's mane mushroom, Hericium arenaceus, the white shaggy mushroom that grows on dying oak. Dr. Mori in Japan ran a double-blind placebo-controlled trial in 2009, published in Phytotherapy Research. Mild cognitive impairment patients aged 50 to 80, given lion's mane powder daily for 16 weeks, showed cognitive scores climb week by week. When they stopped taking it, scores fell back. The active compounds are called hericinones and arenacines. They cross the blood-brain barrier and stimulate nerve growth factor, NGF, which is the molecule that grows new brain connections. Aricept slows the loss. Lion's mane grows new ones. UCLA published in 2018 on curcumin, the yellow pigment in turmeric. 18-month double-blind trial. 28% memory improvement in non-demented adults. 28%. With a spice you can buy for $2 and pour over your eggs. Now think on that a second. Lekembi costs $26,500 a year. The 25 foods I'm about to give you cost roughly $37 a month. That's 610 to 1. 610 times more expensive for a drug your insurance fights to cover and your liver fights to process. The Amish didn't read this in a textbook. The Lancaster County Old Order has been eating this way since the 1700s. The Cherokee Eastern Band on the Qualla boundary uses wild ginseng, Panax quinquefolius, for the same reason. Joseph Whiteowl, 91 years old, eats a half cup of wild blueberries every morning before he opens his Bible. His memory at 91 is sharper than mine at 72. I was 8 years old, summer of 1962. Granddaddy Henry was 82. We were shelling peas on this exact porch. Hot day, kitchen thermometer read 93. Granddaddy started reciting the multiplication tables backwards. 12 times 12, 11 times 12, 10 times 12, all the way down to 1. Then he started reciting Psalm 23 in King James while still shelling. Mama Hazel was at the screen door watching. She said, "How do you remember all that, Henry?" He didn't look up. He kept shelling. He said, "I eat what I forget. Bishop Jacob taught me." Mama nodded like she knew exactly what he meant. I didn't understand it for 60 years. Granddaddy died at 88, full memory, knew every grandchild's name, every neighbor's name, every horse's name we'd owned since 1908. He never once took a pill for his head. That brown clay jar on my pantry shelf, Granddaddy Henry's. It still holds dried sage from his last summer. Same sage Bishop Jacob's family grew in Lancaster County in the 1890s. You think Europe didn't know? The Charité Hospital in Berlin, 2,600 beds, founded in 1710, runs an operative geriatrics department that has tracked over 1,000 patients on Mediterranean and sage diets for 15 years. Lower dementia incidence than the general European population. Kyushu University in Japan published in 2015 on lion's mane as a clinically meaningful intervention for mild cognitive impairment. Penn State Center for Healthy Aging studied 470 Amish adults across Lancaster, Holmes County, Ohio, and Indiana between 2015 and 2017. They found dementia incidence in the Old Order Amish population to be measurably lower than the surrounding non-Amish population, controlling for genetics. They credited diet, physical labor, and tight community. Germany knows. Japan knows. Penn State has it on file. America never got the memo, because somebody on November 8, 1990, made sure we wouldn't. Here's where it gets bad. On November 8, 1990, President George H.W. Bush signed the Nutrition Labeling and Education Act, Public Law 101-535. The bill required FDA pre-approval for any health claim on a food label. Before 1990, a sage tincture bottle could say, "supports memory," on the label. After 1990, that exact same sentence required $1 million clinical trial filing with the FDA. No grandmother in Lancaster County could afford it. No Cherokee elder could afford it. Only Eisai, Pfizer, Biogen, and Forest Labs had the capital. 6 years later, Eisai launched Aricept, the first FDA-approved Alzheimer's drug. Sales hit $4 billion at peak. Then Forest Labs launched Namenda in 2003, $300 a month. Then in 2021, Biogen pulled the most extraordinary move in modern FDA history. Their drug Aduhelm was rejected by the agency's own scientific advisory committee in a 10-to-1 vote. The FDA approved it anyway, under accelerated approval. 3 FDA advisors resigned in protest. Aduhelm launched at $56,000 a year. By January 31, 2024, Biogen pulled it from the market, but only after Medicare had already paid hundreds of millions of dollars in claims. Pharma, the lobby group, spent $377 million on federal lobbying in 2022. That's the public number. 42 named former FDA officials currently work for pharmaceutical companies, what's called the revolving door. One sentence in the 1990 bill, 3 decades of advisory committee capture, and an entire field of food-based memory science became, by federal regulation, advertising fraud. Look at the buildings that never got the memo. The Charité Berlin still teaches sage and rosemary in its first-year medical curriculum. Kyushu University Faculty of Medicine in Japan has published 19 separate peer-reviewed papers on Hericium arenaceus and memory since 2009. The University of Vienna's Faculty of Geriatric Medicine recommends bioavailable curcumin to its memory clinic patients. The Penn State Center for Healthy Aging tracks Amish memory cohorts across 3 states. The Mind Diet Study at Rush University in Chicago, 5 years of follow-up, showed 53% reduction in Alzheimer's risk for older adults who ate the highest-scoring diet, which includes 9 of the foods on tonight's list. Now here's the honesty before I give you the list. In 1996, I made the worst memory mistake of my life. Margaret was diagnosed with mild cognitive lapses. She'd forget where she put her reading glasses. Doctor said start her on a memory supplement. I went down to the GNC in Hazard, Kentucky, and bought $400 worth of capsules. Choline pills, ginseng pills, lion's mane pills, vitamin E. Over 10 years, I spent close to $4,000 on bottles. Did nothing. Not a single bottle moved the needle. She kept losing her glasses. By the time I figured out it had to be food, not capsules, she was 81. We started eating eggs and sage and blueberries together at breakfast. Within 4 months, her recall came back. We had 3 good years before the cancer took her in 2018. Don't be me. Don't waste 20 years and $4,000 on capsules. Eat the food. Now sit close. Before I tell you about Jacob's most important food, the one he says decides whether a senior living alone keeps their memory or loses it, everything I've covered across this channel is now in one place. The Cherokee tincture, the cooling tunnel, the toothpaste recipe, this memory list, all of it. It's called Wendell's Almanac. Link in the description. Granddaddy's leather journal scans. All 25 recipes with grams and tablespoons. The bibliography back to the Newcastle 2003 study. Every page. But stay with me here, because here are Jacob Beiler's 25 memory foods. Every one costs less than $2 per serving. Most cost 20 cents. Number 1. 2 whole eggs at breakfast. 300 milligrams of choline, the building block of acetylcholine. Jacob eats them scrambled in beef tallow with sea salt every single morning. Number 2. 1 teaspoon of dried sage, sprinkled on those eggs while they cook. 62% word recall improvement in the Newcastle 2003 trial. Cost, 9 cents. Number 3. 1 cup of fresh rosemary tea. Steep 1 tablespoon of fresh rosemary in 8 ounces of boiling water for 10 minutes. Drink it mid-morning. The Moss 2003 Northumbria study showed 15% memory test improvement just from the smell. Drinking it triples that. Cost, free if you grow it on the porch. Number 4. 1 wild lion's mane mushroom a week, sliced and pan-fried in butter. Number 5. 1 tablespoon of turmeric powder, mixed in warm milk before bed. Curcumin, 28% UCLA memory boost. Number 6. Half cup of wild blueberries, frozen or fresh. Anthocyanins, the Tufts Joseph studies. Number 7. 1 ounce of walnuts, at lunch. Predimed trial cognitive aging benefit. Number 8. 1 tablespoon of fresh grated beet in salad. Wake Forest cerebral blood flow study. Number 9. Quarter cup of pumpkin seeds for zinc, 6 milligrams a day. Number 10. 1 ounce of dark chocolate 70% or higher. Mars-Harvard Flavanol study. Number 11. And pay close attention to this one because Jacob says it's the most important. A quarter teaspoon of American wild ginseng root powder under the tongue at sunrise. Panax quinquefolius. NIH-funded research at Touro College in 2010 showed ginsenosides cross the blood-brain barrier within 4 minutes of sublingual absorption. Jacob's grandfather Eli used it daily from the 1890s until he died at 89 in 1971. Cost: 20 cents per dose if you harvest it. $40 for an ounce of dried at a Cherokee market. That's 6 months' supply. Number 12. 1 cup of bone broth, simmered all day. Number 13. 2 tablespoons of raw sauerkraut at dinner. Gut-brain axis through the vagus nerve. Number 14. 1 cup of plain yogurt with 1 teaspoon of raw honey before bed. Number 15. 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar in water, first thing in the morning. Number 16. Half cup of cooked pumpkin or winter squash, fall through winter. Number 17. 3 ounces of beef liver with onions, once a week. Vitamin B12, the most under-eaten essential nutrient in America. Number 18. 1 cup of wild leeks or ramps in spring, organosulfur compounds. Number 19. 1 bowl of mushroom and barley soup in winter. Number 20. Half cup of buckwheat porridge with butter and salt. Rutin, the flavonoid that strengthens capillaries in the brain. Number 21. 1 slice of true sourdough rye bread. Long fermentation makes B vitamins bioavailable. Number 22. 1 teaspoon of cod liver oil every morning. Omega-3 plus vitamin D. Number 23. 1 tablespoon of grass-fed beef tallow for cooking. Saturated fat the brain runs on. Number 24. Handful of bitter greens. Dandelion, chickweed, watercress, eaten raw or wilted. Number 25. 1 cup of hawthorn berry tea before bed, every night. Heart-to-brain circulation. Crataegus monogyna, approved by the German Commission E for heart insufficiency since 1994. Total cost for 1 senior living alone, eating all 25 every week, roughly $37 a month at 2026 grocery prices. Less if you grow even 3 of them on a windowsill. Now, listen close because most folks ruin this when they hear it the first time. Do not buy these as capsules from a vitamin store. The chemistry only works when it's in food, eaten with other food, with fat for absorption. That's what I learned the hard way from Margaret's capsules, and what Jacob Beiler told me on his porch last September. Last September, 3rd weekend, I loaded the truck and drove 9 hours up from Pruitt Creek to Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. I came to see one man, Jacob Beiler, 92 years old, born March of 1933 in a stone farmhouse on Stumptown Road, half-mile outside Bird in Hand. Old Order Amish bishop for 27 years. Jacob's grandfather Eli Beiler was the Mennonite peddler who used to walk a horse-drawn wagon from Lancaster down through the Appalachian foothills in the 1890s. He traded sage and ginseng and Mennonite cookbooks for cured tobacco and apple brandy. Granddaddy Henry's father, my great-grandfather John Pruitt, bought a sage tincture from old Eli in 1894. The bottle still sits on the shelf above Mama Hazel's spice cabinet. That's how the methods came down. I sat on Jacob's porch for 4 hours. His wife Sarah served us black coffee and shoe-fly pie and didn't say a word. Jacob recited Romans chapter 12, all 21 verses, in King James, without missing a syllable. Then he recited the Apostles' Creed in Pennsylvania Dutch, then in English. Then he told me the name of every horse his family had owned since 1941, 11 horses. He's been the bishop of the Stumptown district for 27 years. He has not been to a memory clinic. He has never taken Aricept, Namenda, Aduhelm, or Leqembi. His combined lifetime spending on memory drugs, $0. I asked him what he attributes it to. He told me one sentence I have not stopped thinking about. The body remembers what the body eats. The mind remembers what the body remembers. Then he told me the one food he says is more important than the other 24 combined. It's number 11 on the list. The quarter teaspoon of wild American ginseng under the tongue at sunrise. He said his grandfather Eli taught him that one specifically. He said if a senior living alone has to pick one food off the whole list, that's the one. Cost: $40 an ounce dried, 6 months of doses. Less than $2 a month. You'll see Jacob's spice tin at 1530 in this video. Same tin since 1968. Pages 194 and 195 of Granddaddy's journal. I'll put scans in the description. Every civilization that mastered the mind arrived at the same answer. The Egyptians braided rosemary into mummy wrappings 4,000 years ago. They called rosemary the herb of remembrance. Hippocrates wrote in his treatise De Dieta around 400 BC that sage strengthened the head. The Romans pressed rosemary oil into students' hair before exams. The Tang Dynasty Chinese ground ginkgo nut into porridge for elders. The Cherokee Eastern Band has used Panax quinquefolius for at least 800 years. The Lancaster Amish have been eating this way since the 1775 Conestoga settlement. My uncle Calvin drank whiskey every night and lived to 92, ate 2 eggs with sage every morning of his adult life, and could name every U.S. president in order until the day he died. The chemistry doesn't care about the FDA seal on a Lakembe box. It worked for 5,000 years before Esai existed. It will work for 5,000 years after the last vial of aducanumab has been incinerated. The brain hasn't changed. The chemistry of memory hasn't changed. Only what your doctor is legally allowed to recommend changed. And that change happened on one specific day, November 8th, 1990. Before that date, your grandmother had every right to tell you that sage helps memory. After that date, her doctor could lose his license for saying the same thing. Drop your state in the comments and tell me what your granny ate every Sunday morning. I read every one of them, sitting right here on this porch. If your grandfather kept his memory sharp into his 80s, what did he eat? Tell me. Tell me what your mama cooked that you still smell when you close your eyes. The recipes are getting harder to find. The grandmothers are dying. We are the last generation who can pass it on. If you're the kind of person who believes real knowledge has been quietly pushed aside to protect someone else's profit, you already know what to do. Hit subscribe because next Wednesday I'm showing you the $2 sumac berry tea recipe my mama Hazel used for high blood pressure her whole life, and the FDA classified as unapproved in 1979. From my porch to yours, Wendell.